This week on the Grand Theory podcast.
Or was it different? Like what was the kind of the feelings that you kind of went through, and like, was there anything that you kind of learned about yourself when you went through that first kind of struggle with your injury?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Like that last piece is like, yo, that's really good. I don't know, man. Like I think the biggest thing for me was the ego.
Mm-hmm.
Is my ego, man.
Yeah.
You know, that ego check of like, you know. And I'm a firm believer in God, and I feel like God's like He was telling me something like, hey, now's not your time, right?
Well, I'm gonna shop my shop. 1% better. Put in that work. 1% better. Put in that work. Put in that work. Okay. All right, guys, listen. As you can see, I'm smiling right now because I'm super happy because we got 1% better today.
Yes,
Before I jump into that, though, you know what we do first things first, Ori? What do we do first things first?
Thank God, bro.
Thank God. We thank the man above, because if it wasn't for God, we would not be here in the first place.
True.
We would not be able to come here in good health.
True.
Or have our guests, or be able to even have the equipment or the ability to do the podcast in the first place. So first and foremost, we want to thank God.
True.
First and foremost, no matter what. But second of all, we getting 1% better
Yes,
every
sir.
day, Ori.
Yes, sir. You see the setup? Looking
Jeez.
good.
See, we had stands before, right? We had the stationary stands.
Yes, sir.
But now we got the boom arms.
The
you know
boom
what I'm
arm,
saying?
you know?
We ain't even got to touch it too much. You
Nah.
can sway it to the side. I'm super excited. I'm not gonna lie. I'm sorry, guys. I'm kind of gassed.
That's a good thing, bro. Put in the work.
We put in the work.
Yes, sir.
1% better every day. That's the Island Grind way.
Always.
Last week, just a recap, we had Kutsi on our podcast. He was a great interview. He came with so many gems.
Yes, sir.
He told us his theory of the grind was that,
No,
bumpers.
Robert.
Can
You know what, though?
we can just edit out that right now. No?
Actually, yeah, that's true. No, actually, you know what?
Actually-
We gotta keep it real.
You know what? But we did have Kutsi, and then actually we had my brother. So
Big
actually,
dog.
the big dog was our last episode.
Yes, sir.
Lorenzo Roll was in the building.
And I had to, oh my God, bro. Actually, the guy had so many gems.
So many gems.
Bro.
Like, you guys would not believe the episode with my brother. He told us about how it is the biggest thing is believing in yourself, making sure that you believe in yourself, and not only believe in yourself, that sometimes you gotta it's like you gotta manifest.
You gotta manifest.
You gotta say where you're gonna be.
In order to be where you want to be.
In order to be where you want to be. And that was a big lesson, man.
That's big.
So many gems, not only just about life in general, but about investing and moving forward and how you're gonna improve.
And even family, bro.
And family,
That's one thing like people don't actually talk about this day and age. But bro, this man was actually preaching family. He was talking about his wife, talking about his kids, talking about what actually pushes him, bro. And that's good. Not gonna lie, that's good. So
getting it from different perspectives from different people, different
sir.
walks of life. So it was a really, really great episode. But today we got a special guest, especially for me, my best friend, Ismail Khalil, in the building. He is born in Pakistan, was at the age of 2. He left and he moved to Thorncliffe in Toronto, where he grew up, in the, what we're going to say, in the hood a little bit. You grew up there.
Now we'll let him tell the story,
Then he moved. I'm going to let him tell his story, but he then moved to Edmonton in 2004, 2003. And, we met in school in about, I'm going to say grade 9, going into grade 9, started grade 9. But he is also the owner and founder of ReadyCar. He is completed his bachelor's in management and BCom for business with honors, not just regularly, with honors, you know what I'm saying?
Man still.
And man, it's going to be a pleasure to have him. Without further ado, I'm not going to hold it up no more.
Yes, sir,
I'm gonna
don't hold it.
The man, the duo back together.
Yes,
you know,
sir.
Flash from Brown up in the cut. Let's go. Ishmael, welcome to the stage, man.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
to the podcast.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
My God.
Always a pleasure, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Thank
My
you guys for
brother.
having me.
Nah, it's all good, bro.
So,
Get in the hot seat.
We're gonna dissect this, man.
this is the hot seat.
You can adjust the mic as a cord if you want.
That's good.
All right. So I know we already give a little bit of an introduction,
Yeah.
but just kind of give the people a little bit introduction of yourself, and foremost talk about a little bit about what you're doing, the businesses that you have. Just give us a little insight before we dive in deep. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. No. First of all, thank you guys for having me on the show.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
Crazy, and all of your listeners being impacted by the content that you guys are putting out there. It's touching. I've been watching. I've been watching. I've been watching
I like
your
it.
stuff.
Appreciate it.
I run a company called ReadyCar.
Okay.
It's kind of like a local Amazon company concept.
Mm-hmm.
So we deliver for like local brick and mortar stores.
Okay.
Ever since the pandemic, it's been huge.
Yeah.
It's been massive, right?
Wow.
So
Nice.
we've really we've been around for the last 4 years,
Mm-hmm.
but this past year really kind of picked up steam for us.
Okay.
Okay.
And then, like you said, just recently finished up school. And then I also I'm doing an internship at a VC firm in
Wow.
Palo Alto, in
Okay.
California. So part of a 13 group team there.
Okay.
And then I also started up my own podcast.
There you
It's
go.
called
Hey.
the Startup
Startup.
Podcast.
Make sure you-
Subscribe to that, follow
Hey.
that.
So we're gonna drop all the links, and don't worry, we're dropping all the links.
Hey,
Everything.
I like that.
I appreciate it, man. No, it's really just about finding a way to give back to early stage entrepreneurs, and
Mm-hmm.
I felt like in my position that I'm still early, right? I can still give back in many ways, and
Okay.
share that story about what it takes to raise money, what
Yeah.
it takes to build your company, what it takes to build value and
Nice.
meaning and give that back to people. So that's really what it's all about.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I hope you guys can just take in. Look at this guy's beard, man. It is flawless out here.
This guy.
Flawless, man. Just to perfection.
Always hyping.
For
Nice.
those of you who can't see, listen. You know when it gets detailed, like it looked like it was drawn perfectly? That's what it is.
Nah,
It's
yeah.
perfect right
It's
now.
not like him. The
It's
bald
not
guy.
like me, you know. I'm working
Yo,
through
you
the
got a
patches.
nice one, man.
I'm
Nah,
working through the patches.
nah. Listen.
Yo, you should see
Listen.
this guy in junior high, man. This guy,
Yo,
oh
I
my
know.
god. Came to school one day and he had this like patch. Like I
Yo,
swear.
remember I had to wear a headband?
Yeah.
Over the school?
There's a patch of hair. Like he came to practice one day. We used to play ball.
Wow.
Guy just straight up
Yeah.
came with a
That's
patch
bad.
on the side of his head.
You know what I was trying to do? I was trying to put those bear claws in. Yo, was it you that used to do the bear claws?
It
on the
wasn't
side?
bear claws. It was like those lines.
Yeah, those lines. I
Yeah.
tried to do it myself, but I pulled too hard. So when I pulled, actually, we'll have a picture of that. I have a meme, so I have the
Jeez.
picture.
Oh my god.
But
God.
man, it's great to have you on, man.
Thanks, buddy.
So let us go back to the beginning, man. Tell us a little bit about. Oh, actually,
No. Before we do it, come on,
Oh,
the
my
retro.
bad.
Come
What's-
on, the
what's-
retro, man.
wait,
Come on,
what's-
come on.
We're going to sect him, huh?
Yeah, the sector.
okay,
Come on,
okay,
brother.
okay. Listen,
Every
sorry, I
day-
got the gems in my pocket. I got the gems in my hand. right
fair
now.
enough, fair
So-
enough,
so
fair
I-
enough.
But we can still. Don't worry. Don't
No,
worry.
listen. Now every show, we have to. It's a
On the
ritual,
hot
man.
seat.
Good at the taste. You don't know what's coming.
Sizzling.
You don't know
Sizzling.
what's coming. But I'll let you go. I'll let you stop.
So, Ishmael, man, you were born in Pakistan. You know, I know you were pretty young when that happened. Well, you were, like you said, you left when you were 2 years
Yeah,
old.
we left. Yeah.
But do you know, like, tell me a little bit about Pakistan, kind of like even like your early years growing up, you know, what it was like going back from Pakistan to you moved to Toronto and then to Edmonton. You know, tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that time, what you remembered, what it was like, you know. Give us a
Yeah.
little insight into that.
Yeah. So I mean, we came here back in '97.
Yeah.
So I was 2 years old
Damn.
when we moved here. Been pretty much born here, right? Just
Okay.
like the travel time or whatever.
Mhm.
And then lived in Toronto for about 10 years.
Okay.
Wow.
Before we moved
Okay.
here.
Okay.
And Toronto was good. It was good to us, but
Yeah.
it was ghetto. It was ghetto. I can't lie. It was ghetto.
Like, honestly.
we went through our ups and downs. My dad actually
Boo.
he's a chemical engineer. Yeah. And we were doing really well for ourselves. Like he was back in we actually lived in Saudi Arabia for a couple years and moved
Okay.
to Pakistan, and he had a really good job there, and everything kind of paid for, everything. We were living a really, really good life.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then when we came here, you know, that sacrifice was for his kids, right? Ultimately.
True.
So he had to make that decision to come down, and you know, it's a lot. It's a lot for a parent to, you know, obviously we recognize that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
To come down and to kind of, you know,
Have to adjust.
you know, not have those luxuries that you do here, that you do back home.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was crazy, and we had to like readjust, and now we're in Edmonton.
Yeah, there you go. And
Okay.
so I know it's
So you said you stayed in Saudi Arabia first, and then you moved to Pakistan. So were you born in Saudi Arabia, or were you born in Pakistan?
I was born in Pakistan.
Okay.
Born in Pakistan, moved to Canada
Okay.
when I was about 2 years old.
Okay.
I've got five. There's 5 of us. So it's my sister.
Oh wow.
And then 4 brothers.
Okay. She.
So big family.
It's a big family.
I'm the middle child.
Okay.
You know, J. Cole, middle child.
shout out J. Cole.
So you know what it is, right?
So now this is my next question. So how was it growing up, like being the middle child? Like you said, you're 4 siblings, correct?
Yeah.
So how was it
5.
growing up? Oh,
5.
5. So 5. Oh,
Yeah.
so you're 6 in total then.
No,
No,
5
5.
siblings.
So 5 siblings.
But he's
My
stu-
sister was one only sister.
Okay.
4 brothers.
Okay. So how was it like being the middle child and growing up in general?
Because that's like almost like a little bit of responsibility, because you still have a younger brother or younger brothers underneath you, but also you're also a little brother too as well.
Someone
so
else,
it's like
yeah.
a little bit of both.
Balance
you know?
in both, yeah.
So how was that, you know, kind of growing up?
For me, man, like earlier on, it was just like, you know, little kid. Right?
Yeah.
As I got older, I ended up becoming the tallest one in my house.
Oh shit.
Tallest in the family.
So then he be
And you know, obviously that's for my older brothers. It's like, yo, this guy's bigger than us.
We gotta
But
look at when we
obviously,
talk to
right,
him.
got lots of respect for my brothers, right? They you know, changed my diapers, they did everything to
100%.
put me in the place. Put me, no, seriously, man, real talk, man. They did a lot of things, because my parents, when we moved here, my dad wasn't working as an engineer.
Yeah.
He was working in security. He used to work 2 jobs.
Oh wow.
And then my mom also worked, and so I never really saw my parents growing up in Toronto. And I saw a lot of like gang violence growing up, actually,
Oh wow.
where we lived. We used to live in a 21-story apartment building,
Oh, wow.
and we were living on food stamps at one point. It was really, really bad.
Damn.
And you know, really different. And I'm pretty sure my dad had a spell where he probably went into some sort of like a, you know, like a, why did I bring my kids here type
Yeah.
situation,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because like you leave all that luxury behind, and then you come here for your children.
Yeah.
But no, shout out to my older siblings, because
Yeah.
like, you know,
100%.
without them, you know,
100%.
I wouldn't be here, you know. So, but yeah, you were asking me something there, and I kind of went off topic.
I don't remember now. I was listening to
Yeah.
what you're saying, but just hearing what you're talking about, the kind of like the struggle of kind of being an immigrant family coming into Canada. You know, like you said, not really being able to see your parents and stuff like that. Do you feel like that shaped you in any way, made you a little bit more responsible at a young age, or more like, you know, give you any not advantage, but how did it mold you? You know, being as an immigrant coming into Canada, you know, seeing how hard your parents were working just to make things ends meet for you guys. How did that kind of mold you and shape you kind of going forward?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that it really, really does affect you when you have parents that, you know, especially when you've been given those luxuries, and then you're coming to Canada, and like it's a different scenario. Whether you're coming to Canada or US, right? You're living out the Canadian or the American dream, right? As they say, and you know, it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies for us, right?
100%.
So, you know, biggest thing was like coming here. It's like a different environment completely, right? So it's like, how do you adjust to the living system here? So I think that's what was the main sort of struggle, right? And I think that did impact my growth. I definitely, like, I feel like I definitely, because of what my parents went through, I really went full bore on it, and it kind of did make me more mature too.
Yeah.
As like an older, like the older brother to my younger brother.
Yeah.
He's my youngest, Abdul. He's the he's the youngest kid in our house.
Yep.
And then my older siblings. It's kind of weird for me, but that does pay dividends, right? Having your family and having that struggle early on, that helps quite a bit. I think it helped me,
100%.
like, especially hanging around with my brothers and their friends.
Yeah.
I never
More
really got
mature
into
crowd,
like I never
more
really
mature,
got into, like, you know, the only fight that I got into was, I think, elementary, where I pushed this kid in like a big puddle. Like he was like really pissing me off, and he got me to a point where like I lost it at him.
Okay.
It's raining, and I just pushed him in. But other than that, I was pretty straight edge and like mature about it, I guess, right? Some of my peers.
100%. We I met you in, like I said, in grade end of grade 8 going into grade 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, I think we were playing ball. Like, when I came in the first day, I think it was like film class or something like that.
No, French.
Was it French?
Yeah.
Was it French with Miss, what's her name, man?
Miss Lowe.
Yeah. So
I was like, hey, I know this guy.
yeah.
I was like, I know this guy.
He's like, yeah, I played ball with this guy. I know this guy. I'm like, you
Yeah.
don't know me, man. I just came from the Caribbean.
You
don't
look
know.
really familiar to this other guy who I met, like literally a week before. And then all my buddies were like, yo, you don't know him. Yo, you don't know him. Don't act like you know him, man. Right?
Yeah, I actually remember that. And we ended up playing ball, man. And like, I remember I was a little bit bigger, so they used to kind of clear out the lane, but he didn't clear out the lane. He was about the same size as me and stuff like that too. So, we just instantly kind of got a connection, had a chemistry and stuff like that. And I think because of kind of our family dynamics kind of being very similar,
Yeah.
we bonded even more. Like I remember, I think the only house I could ever sleep over at was probably Ishmael's house.
Wow.
Like that's probably the only house I could probably sleep over at. Just because and like my family, we all know Ishmael. Ishmael's family all knows me, stuff.
Yeah, we were like brothers.
We were like brothers, man.
Yeah.
So it was just it was really, really cool. But you were very big into sports, basketball. You play football.
Yeah.
What kind of brought that passion for those sports?
I don't know, actually. Like growing up when we were in Thorncliffe, I used to be into hockey, so I played a lot of like ball hockey.
Okay.
My older brother's like a super big Leafs fan, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, nice.
Just sorry for
Asher, so
Asher, you guys are not winning.
yeah, they didn't end up making it this year, but he was really about trying to get me into playing hockey, and then we had a friend of ours. His name was Omar. He lived in the same building, like a family friend.
Okay.
And Omar, if you're watching this, Omar Bhai, I should probably call him because he's older.
Mm-hmm.
We call our elderly Bhai, right? We don't just call them by their names.
Okay.
So Omar Bhai, he kind of taught me how to play basketball.
Oh, nice.
So he kind of taught me, and at that time it was kind of just like and one, hot sauce, stick to my loo type basketball, right?
Break ankles and stuff.
And then when I came to Edmonton, it was grade 3, grade 4, and then I just met a couple friends that I picked up basketball with at school. And from there, I met one of my friends, Tanner, Rohit. I met these guys, and they got me into playing basketball,
Nice.
like organized basketball, right?
Yeah.
So it was like more professional setting, right? It wasn't like street ball anymore, right? So I started playing ball and started learning the game. First of all, I didn't know how to shoot, right? Left hand, right hand, I didn't know how to shoot. And then that's where the kind of passion for sports really kind of began. And I guess I was semi-athletic at that time. I mean, if you look at a picture of mine, maybe I'll send it to you. You can slap it up on here. But it's like a polo neck. I've got a jersey on. It was like my first bout at basketball. It was really bad. But that's kind of like where it all started.
Nice. So I have a question. So did you guys ever play 1-on-1?
Every day after
Did
school.
we play 1-on-1?
Every day after school, man.
Oh, this guy got work.
Listen, it was back and forth. It was back and forth.
Follow up to that is, if you guys playing, I was gonna win.
Huh?
If you playing now, I was gonna win.
I don't know, man.
I don't know. That's a good question.
That's
Actually,
a good question.
this one is
I
evenly
gotta
matched.
respect him nowadays,
this one's evenly matched. I'm not gonna lie. So you know what?
Man.
My shot's on though. I don't know.
This one is even. You know that I would
If
normally
my shot's
just.
on, though,
You know.
I don't know.
That's
But no, man. Like I mean,
every day after school,
think-
man.
I think that's where it kind of started, and
Nice.
and like I really started taking sports seriously. I think towards junior high. When I
Okay.
got into junior high,
Yeah.
I really started like taking it seriously. I remember grade 9. There was a summer grade 8 where I was just like, yo, I really want to get good at basketball. So literally the whole summer I played and played and played.
Yeah.
I used to play with guys that were older than me all the time,
Yeah.
right, to really get better at the sport.
Yeah.
And I found these rec league guys that I started playing with, and then over time, I remember one summer I went through a growth spurt, went from going from like 5'2" or 5'3" or whatever to like
Boom.
6 feet, and people were just like, "What the heck?
What happened
Like,
to
who's
this
this
guy?"
guy showing up at school?" All right, and Yeah, and then I just kind of focused in on basketball. Played Team Alberta for like grade 9.
Yep.
And then that's really what ended up happening. Really started taking it seriously from there.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember he. I would say Ishmael was probably the best player on the team. I would say that I remember we had a couple of games where even I remember there was a game to like go into the, I don't know if advance in the playoffs or to like move to the second round of the playoffs, and we were down by like 1. He came down, hit a reverse layup and stuff like that, like to win game winner. You know, it was big. I also remember we played in summer league.
Yeah.
And I was guiding you.
Grads, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. And I'm always talking trash. You know that I'm talking trash. And I remember I was talking trash, and this guy shot the ball, and I was like, never. And he was like, too late. And then it like went, swished in the net, everything. So it was really, Ishmael is a very, very good baller, you know. It was fun. And we actually, from that, we decided to go to high school together, right? We ended up going to McNally.
Yeah, we had them recruit us to come.
Exactly.
I mean, it's a choice, right? I think life is all about choices, and that choice at that time was a choice that we had to make, right? And
that's a gem drop right there, you know. Chocolate drop. That's a chocolate drop gem.
You know, it's believe it or not, it's a choice, right? You can go one direction or go the other direction, and we decided to go a direction, and you know, I think throughout school too, my dad was super serious about school. Like I was not playing basketball unless I had like A's, right? If I had a B, my dad is like, nah, you're not playing. He was that serious about it. Yeah. So like I always got, and also being the middle child, like I also got knocked on by my siblings too, because they used to think that I was spoiled growing up, and if they're watching, they probably would say the same. But I think I had to earn that.
Yeah.
Right. Like I had to be good at school. I had to be hardworking, for my dad to trust me in those situations, right? Like I used to be able to go on trips and stuff, and my siblings used to be like, "Yo, why is this guy going? Like, why is he going to California? Why is he going all these different places to play ball?" Right? Like, and my dad used to always point to my grades, and that was the reason why. So, and then came high school. So, elementary, junior high, I was always like AP honors kid,
Nice.
and then,
which is like, you know, like advanced
yeah,
class and
international
stuff.
baccalaureate, yeah. So yeah, and then obviously went to high school, and you make choices, and could have been Harry Ainley, could have been another high school, but you make those decisions at that time. I remember basketball, like when I was trying out for Team Alberta, the coach at Harry Ainley was Hoyt. He was just like, "Yo, you should consider coming to Harry Ainley," right? And as a kid, you don't really have that direction, unless you have somebody that. Like, my parents, they weren't into basketball as much as I was. Neither were my siblings, right? So I didn't really have somebody old enough or somebody that could give me that guidance. But hey, again, you make a choice for a certain reason. You're in a certain position in a certain time of your life for a certain reason, and you look back at it and you're like, hey, that was a good decision, right? So.
Fair. And
okay, so we're just gonna take a quick technical break. We'll be right back.
So we're back. So we were talking about high school here, right? So you said that, you know, in junior high and coming up in elementary and stuff, grades wasn't really a problem, right? Now going through high school, how were things there in the high school level? Did anything change, or, you know, how did things go moving forward?
Man, high school was a completely different ballgame, man. For me, like, it was. So I could have gone to 3 different high schools.
Okay.
So I could have gone to Wagner, where all my friends were going, where I probably should have gone.
Yeah, to Wagner.
You know, but didn't go there. I could have gone to Harry Ainley, like I said, with the basketball offer, and that was probably the better route to go, to be honest, because it was like balanced.
Yeah.
Or I could have gone to McNally, right? And I think at that time, the energy was directing us to McNally, and where we were going. So I kind of just focused on that more than anything else, and we ended up going there. And obviously, first year, I mean, I got into the IB program there. First year was good. It was really good. Towards the end of it was kind of rough for me academically, but first year was good. It was also just like such a new environment, because there was so many different students, such a different perspective than like all the friends that I grew up with in junior high that went to the same school, right? So it was very different, and it was honestly very, very uncomfortable at the start. You know, looking back at it, right? It was a completely different environment of kids, and not the same friends that you would have had growing up that
Yeah.
you would have gone to school with. So it was different for sure.
And how did you think that, like, did that played a big role in, like, going forward, like, with your schoolwork? Like, how did you adjust, like, initially, if you had any struggles, but then how did you adjust from there, to improve?
Yeah. So grade 10, I started playing basketball, and then I played football too. I played both sports, and we were recruited for both.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a lot. That was a lot on my plate, and I wasn't able to like manage the load the way that I would have wanted to. And so I just started seeing myself declining academically. I was still in the IB program, but grade 11 was rough. And grade 11 is that sort of deciding year of like where you're going to be going to university.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to play ball at the next level. Like I wanted to play college ball and everything. And I was just so focused on that, right? So grade 11 was kind of like a teeter-totter year. I ended up actually, grade 10 was amazing. I actually like grade 10 actually. Because we went to, our ball team was really, really good too. We
went so many tournaments and stuff
we won
too.
so many tournaments. I think we did really well that year.
We did.
And essentially grade 11, I had no idea how to play football. I didn't know about football at all.
Yeah.
But grade 11, when I came into it, I learned the sport. And I remember we were running a summer training camp, and the coaches were all like, "Yo, Ismail, like, did you go train somewhere? Like, how are you so good?" Like, I was beating out guys, right? I was playing receiver at that time, remember? Slot back. And unfortunately, in a drill, we were doing like a tackling drill. I broke my arm.
Wow.
And it happened to be my shooting arm. So my wrist broke, my finger broke, and part of my arm broke.
Oof.
And so,
Jeez.
and so, I mean, learning how to shoot is like again, after so many years of practice, it's like learning how to write again, right? And I'm right-handed, but I shoot with my left, so I'm ambidextrous. And like I even play hockey with my left, tennis with my right. So I'm kind of like, it's a little bit ambidextrous, but it was tough, man. Like I had to like relearn it. And I remember for a whole season in grade 11, I had to play with my right hand. And even free throws, I had to shoot with my right. So I couldn't really play at the level that I wanted to play. And that was so frustrating, right? Like obviously, right? When you were limited physically, right? And you've got everything else, you've got the talent, you've got the mental strength. Like, you could get there, right? But your body's limiting you. It's tough, man. So like I went through a little bit of depression, to be honest, because I was like, yo, I can't play. I'm not having fun doing what I want to do. And that translated into how I did in my academics. So I was telling myself academically, like, I'm going to go into med school. I'm going to do all these things, which I wanted to do. I wanted to get into sciences and do medicine. And I got hurt. And for me, like, I was so big on basketball at that time that it was heartbreaking.
Bro.
So, and then like I had to like reset everything, man, and I didn't have enough time. Because literally you go from grade 11 to grade 12, and now you're looking for schools, right? So now you're looking at U of A, McEwen, wherever you're going to be applying. And I didn't have an idea of where I wanted to go. All I knew was give me a chance to get back into the gym and play basketball and play at the next level. That's really all I wanted to do. But yeah.
Damn, that sucks.
That's so kind of what I'm just even gathering there from what you were saying is that, like, when you got injured, right, there was like a shift in your mindset, just knowing that you weren't able to do fully what you wanted to do at the capability that you could do it. And it actually, that even though it was started in one thing, right, basketball, which was your passion, it actually ended up affecting all the other things, right, because of that mindset shift. So that just shows like just how key mindset is in the whole, in terms of everything, right? Because just because of that one environment or that one area that you wasn't able to perform in also was able to affect everything else. There's confidence, like, because I'm not doing this how I want to do it, it also affected your schooling,
True. And I mean, even with football too, right? Like I remember, like it was so good. Like I was just at the cusp of really exploding that year, right? And Coach Leong, he held us both to like a really high standard, right? Especially because we were athletic coming into school, and he wanted to bring us right on board, and it felt so tough because I would go on these trips with the school. and I wasn't able to contribute. So for the whole year, I was just kind of watching from the sidelines,
Damn.
not able to do anything. I just watched,
super
right?
frustrating.
And just to see my friends, to see Aquille, to see other friends of mine really succeeding in something that I just couldn't
Yeah.
because I was just limited.
Yeah.
Is a tough pill to swallow. Like I went from highly recruited to, and there's nothing wrong about being the ball boy and the water boy or whatever, but to the water boy.
Damn.
Right? And it was like a gut check, man. It was like shit. Like and like, sorry for swearing, by the way. I'm not sure.
Nah,
if
it's
I'm
all
supposed to
good,
swear or
man.
not.
It's all
Yeah, we don't
good.
click the box. We click the box. Not for kids.
All right. I don't want to swear,
Go ahead,
young kids watching
No.
or whatever, but I had to make that adjustment,
Yeah.
and it was tough, man, and it was a bit of an ego check too. But yeah, like at that time, I didn't know how to navigate around struggle.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to navigate around an obstacle. That was really like my first kick at it, what an obstacle felt like.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking
And-
back at it, man, it was rough. But again, you choose certain things in your life, you make a choice, and you just go with it. Looking back at it now, 20, it's been 10, 15 years later, you realize why you made those decisions and
Yeah.
where that led you. But yeah, man.
I actually have a question, because I know, like, just like when you go through an injury, and you see your friends exceeding or succeeding. Sorry, like even when I went through the injury in the hospital, I stated it in the earlier episode. Even though I didn't want to do it and it was hard, it's like I didn't want my team to win without me, because I wanted to be like I wanted to feel like I also played a role in it, right? Like I belong on the team. Like they need me to win. Sometimes I didn't want them to succeed. It's just like I didn't want them to do it without me, because I wanted to be there, be part of it too, right? And I felt like I was being selfish, but it was just like I don't know, if like a competitive nature type of thing. So I wonder, like, what did you have any of those feelings also when you were injured and you couldn't really play, or was it just like, or was it different? Like what was the kind of the feelings that you kind of went through, and like, was there anything that you kind of learned about yourself when you went through that first kind of struggle with your injury?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. Like that last piece is like, yo, that's really good. I don't know, man. Like I think the biggest thing for me was, I think, the ego. Is my ego, man. That ego check of like, and I think, I'm a firm believer in God, and I feel like God's like, he was telling me something like, hey, now's not your time, right? Wait for it, right? And it was so hard. It was so hard, man, because like I seen this guy crushing it. I seen everybody crushing it. And I'm like, yo, what am I doing here? Even our ball team in grade 11, we had a decent team, but I couldn't contribute. And even if I tried to contribute, I was contributing on a hand that, like, you could still see my finger. This is my broken finger, and this is my good finger. So you can see like how difficult it would have been to shoot with this, right? 100%. And my shot, like, it was just off, man. And so, I think that the ego was the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I think that more than anything, my ego taking a hit, and me telling me, like, I don't know if you guys watched that Conor McGregor fight yesterday.
Yeah.
But like, how he broke his leg, right?
Yeah.
He was sitting down and he was still talking trash.
Yeah.
Right? It's kind of like that, man. Like I was just like sitting down, I was just like, I can't do anything. Right? Like I can't do anything. All I can do is talk, right?
Yeah.
True.
So that was the most difficult part. And and then came senior year, grade 12, and again, all of that stuff kind of trickled into my academics, trickled into everything. So then when I finished up school, I didn't really know what to do, right? So I took a gap year.
Okay.
I took a year off, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna train. I'm gonna train for basketball. I'm gonna dedicate my whole time into this.
Okay.
And I remember I had some classes that I needed to upgrade to, so I had to like do that. And you wouldn't expect that from an IB student, but I was going through some crazy stuff, right? And it was tough because too, like, I remember coming into the room, my parents were in the room, and they were like really looking forward to my graduation, and they're like asking me like, Ishmael, like how does it feel, right? And like I remember crying to them.
Yeah.
I was like, Mom and Dad, like I failed you. Like I didn't graduate with the marks that I wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't even get to where I wanted to be as an athlete. And I remember just crying that day to my parents and being like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm so sorry for everything that you've done, all the sacrifices you've made, and I'm just a bum, right? that was really hard. That was really, really hard too, because like going through an injury, going through something is something, but then like, you know, feeling like you let someone down, especially your parents that have raised you, that's the biggest thing. That's like that's tough, right?
Especially your parents.
You know, it's so that was a big adjustment, and I still remember it, man. It's fresh, right?
Yeah.
That's why that fire is still there.
Yeah.
It's fresh, you know. It's and you need that. You need
100%.
to be able to look back at that and use that to kind of fuel your current fire. And then that was it. I mean, after high school, I really just dedicated my time into basketball and getting myself right. I took all of my friends away.
Yeah.
I just tunnel vision, just went for it. I used to go to the Go Center and just train. And then I got an opportunity to play AAU basketball for a JUCO team and a team here in Swoosh. And then we went down to California, and that was a good run. Like we played really well, and there was lots of prospects there too at that time that came to come watch, and coaches. We were playing out of the Bigfoot Classic, which is a big tournament in California. And they also run the Adidas 64. So these are all college, like, you know, big time tournaments, right?
Yeah.
And I actually played really, really well down there too, and got a couple of notices from coaches and offers or whatnot. And then I came back, and I remember I was applying for university.
Yeah.
And I told my parents, I said, hey, like, whichever university says yes first, I'll just go with that. I don't care if it's U of A, I don't care if it's McEwen, I don't care if it's Nate. Like, whoever says yes to me, I'm gonna stay at Edmonton right now. I'll just go to it.
Nice.
And it happened to be McEwen. They sent me an offer letter. I got into their engineering program, their science program, and I think their business program too. And then I went for sciences. I was like, hey, smaller class size, let's try to get some higher marks. And maybe I can move into like the path of, because I still wanted to be academically sound. I still wanted to do med school. I knew I had a rough patch, but that wasn't going to stop me from getting to where I wanted to get.
Wait, hold on. Chocolate gem drop. You see what he said? He said he knew he had a rough patch, but he wasn't going to let that stop him. Why? Like, that's also a mindset. Like, why? What do you think kind of helped you really push to not get stopped by that rough patch that you had? Because you know, sometimes you go through a rough patch and you're like, yo, it's game over, you know, or that's like you have, you know, it's like the, what do they say when the fight you're the the result of the last fight is like a specter of the moment of the last fight. You know what I mean? Like, if Conor McDavid lost, right? The last thing people remember is him losing. They don't remember that he's a champ or whatever. You're captive by the results of the last thing. So you had just gone through a rough patch. So what gave you the evidence to really to show you that you could push through this rough patch to improve? It's not a permanent thing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think just challenges growing up, really. Like, I think everything that we had been through as a family to, like, obviously, there's one thing that my mom always says, and it's like, you know, put your heart and soul into everything, and the results will speak for themselves, right? And you know, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but at least you know that you put your heart and soul into it, right? Your heart, soul, your blood,
that's true,
sweat and tears or whatever, right? My mom really says that, and that really kind of vibed with me growing up, right? And looking at her, she used to work at Zellers and Target, right? Like, late night shifts, barely able to take care of me and my brother growing up, my siblings. She was an example, a direct example, right? Fasting during Ramadan, still being able to cook food for us, right? Not making any excuses, right? That's what really kind of was at the back of my mind with the challenges. And obviously the challenge of like going through stuff in high school, that was a big deal. I went through depression and stuff, but that wasn't going to stop me from where I wanted to get, because I know that Mama didn't raise no, you know.
No, Mama ain't raised no.
Raised no. Right? Or
that's right. That's right.
I mean, that was it, really, right? And that's straight up, right? I mean, it's all goes back to her. Right? God bless her, right?
Yeah.
It's she didn't want me to think negatively about a situation. Think about how you can turn something positive.
Nice. So I'm guessing you had the mindset and sense of when you're going through like negative situation, you try not to get stuck in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try not to get stuck. You know, because, yeah, I mean, like, you only got one life, right? You got, you know, two things are guaranteed in life: the day that you're born and the day
Yeah,
you
you
die.
die 100%.
Right? Nothing
That is
else is
true.
guaranteed. You know, nothing else is guaranteed, right?
No.
So why fret about it?
Yeah.
Something comes your way. It's just an obstacle you got to climb, right? It's just a test from God ultimately to make you a better person,
True.
or to build you, or hey, what are you gonna do in the situation?
Yeah.
Right. And I think that comes from my parents. I
Nice.
think that's sort of foundational. That comes from my parents, seeing them struggle and seeing my siblings struggle, because my siblings didn't get the opportunities that me and my younger brother had. So my older siblings and my sister didn't get. They had to go through some struggles when they were going through school here. An adjustment, obviously, coming from Pakistan to here, big time.
It's a
big
big
time adjustment.
it
So,
is.
like, what am I supposed to be complaining for?
Yeah.
Right?
So I have a question. So say you could go back in time. Would
Yeah.
you change anything about the way you handled the situation? I believe grade 8, grade 9. And if you could, what would you change?
We talk about this a lot,
We do.
right?
We do. Probably go to Ainley.
I mean, the short answer is like go to Ainley,
Probably
but
go to, yeah.
right. The long answer is,
Yeah.
long answer is, you know, you made that choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta
have
live
to
with
live
that
the choice.
True.
You made that choice, and that choice was made for a reason. Hey, we went to Ainley. What if? And I was talking to actually, we'll get into this. But I was talking to a good friend of mine actually, and he was telling me a little bit about this. And you know, you make certain choices, but if you think about it, if you made that choice, what if you were in harm's way?
Yeah.
What if something bad happened, right?
Yeah.
That you weren't able to control, right? You don't know what that's like. So you got to trust in the process, trust that you know God's got a way for you to kind of go a certain direction. And
Nice.
you just got to put your heart and soul into it. Really.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
Can't,
like, yeah.
can't change it up. Right?
Yeah. That's,
And would you say, pretty much I know the answer already, but would you say going through those situations and like having the biggest, like, you know, struggle, the first one, because a lot of people don't go through struggle at an early age. They go when they're older and they don't know what to do. But would you say going through that struggle at a young age helped you to like be, you know, have like the mindset and the ability to actually handle pressure?
I think so. Yeah. Like I think sports does that too.
yes, we have to.
Right. But
High-
I think
high
so. Yeah. Absolutely. I
situations.
think
Nice.
that did help me kind of like steer the ship.
Nice.
Right. I guess as they say, right. It did help me steer the ship. And again, like seeing on the football field, seeing my friends succeed, on the basketball field, court, seeing my friends succeed, in the academic field, seeing my friends succeed, it was tough to see that, right? So I think so, yeah.
Nice.
100%.
Nice.
So, after you had taken your gap year now and you had entered into university, which you decided to go into sciences first,
Yeah.
right? Kind of what happened from there? How did you progress forward? What were the next steps? Did you complete? Did you switch your programs? Did you stay? Like, kind of tell us what happened after that gap year.
Yeah, so first year I was in sciences,
Mm-hmm.
and my second semester I took a business course.
Mm.
That's when things changed. So I took a business class, and I was like, yo, I'm going to do sciences. I'm going to do really well. And I was just not vibing with it. I just couldn't figure it out, and it was just not something tangible for me.
Okay.
I needed something tangible. And took a business course and did really well. And we ended up winning a business competition, and the business that we started ended up winning, and I was leading the sort of sales side of things.
Okay.
We were running this company called Bliss Fizz. It was like this candle business that we were running.
remember
Scented,
that.
no, not candle, bath bomb. We were making like these bath products, and we ended up selling out. It was super cool to see something that I worked on with a team actually succeed.
Yeah.
Right? After a long time, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, man, it's been a while. Like growing up, I used to always get like second place, third place, right? I'm like, geez, man, like where's my first place medal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this was like my first time that I won like a first place medal, right?
Yeah.
And something academic related. I mean, I had won awards in academics, but I'm talking about like sports. I never really won anything. Like it was like, I think later on, actually I did. What am I saying? We won an AU tournament, a couple of tournaments when I was playing after high school. We did win 2 and I got trophies and stuff for that. But like this was like my first sort of other sort of in a different environment type
Yeah.
one, right?
Yeah.
After going through the struggles that I went through in high school, it was like, damn, like academically, I'm like, yo, this is kind of nice,
So
right?
I can do
Yeah,
this.
it feels
right?
good.
Give you that confidence boost.
Because like I remember taking sciences and it was great, and I wanted to do that, but I was just like, man, I'm not really feeling this vibe, right? It's just like learning about sp3 orbitals, right? Chemical bonds. I mean, all respect to kids that are in sciences and I had friends that have gone on to become doctors and really, really bright individuals when it comes to the science space, but it's not for me. And I think I was lucky enough to find that fit early.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what really set the pace for the years after that.
Quick question, actually, just because I really relate to that kind of in that you said that you studied initially. I really wanted to take a gap year as well. Like I really didn't want to go to right after high school. I really didn't want to go to university right away because I didn't know what I really wanted to do. But my parents were like, you know what, go. And I went, and I think I went into business or business management, right? And I just for some reason I just wasn't vibing with it, and I switched the next year to a different major, right? But I think what I was gonna ask you is like, why do you think that like a lot of people, do you think that they have to try a lot of different things to kind of figure out what they really want instead of just kind of going to one thing and just sticking to that before you even really know what the other options that you have available kind of are?
That's a good question. I didn't learn the answer to that question until that business class. So that business class is called Business 201, Introduction to Sustainable Business at MacEwan. Great class if you're ever thinking of getting into business. Highly recommend it. There's a dean at the time who she said this. She said, play to your strengths, not to your weaknesses, right? And your strengths will almost always ultimately become your passion.
True.
Too. And I only learned the answer to that question then. So I didn't know this whole, because that's what ended up happening, right? Like I was trying football out or playing basketball. I was trying so many things out. Went to a completely different new experience in high school, completely different school, university, right? I was trying things out. I just didn't know. And I think most students, most people that are going through that, right? I think you should take time to think about it. So I think the gap year at the end of the day did help. It did kind of help, I mean, it didn't tell me where I wanted to go, but it gave me time to self-reflect. Right? Time to just kind of pause mentally and physically and just breathe. Right? And I think that was huge. I think that really helped me just mature up. So then when that year came, and that class came, that prepared me for that moment, very moment, right? And I just aced it and did really well that year in school, and that's kind of like where the come up was really.
So after taking that business class, I'm guessing you switched.
So it wasn't that easy though. Like I went into open studies for a semester.
Okay.
Because I had to take some extra courses to qualify for business. Actually, after doing that win, the dean of the program for business, he saw me. He's like, hey, I see potential in you, right? He took a chance. Is what he did. My grades in sciences weren't good either, so I was just like, man, this is a repeat of what I did in high school. I'm like, what the heck am I doing? Right? I'm like, is school just not meant for me? Right? Start asking these questions. But he took a shot. He took a shot at me, and gave me a chance. And when he believed in me, that gave me a purpose. And then I think the next year, towards the end of the year, I applied for the business program. It was actually not that easy though, because I remember he recruited me to go to this trip to France, where I would go to this innovation academy, this innovation institute called the European Innovation Academy. It's like the biggest entrepreneurship accelerator in the whole world for students. If you haven't searched it up, you should search it up. It's a good program. Run by UC Berkeley and Stanford and Google and all these other crazy companies. And he was just, I don't know, like he saw something in me. And there was myself and like five other students that got selected. And we went through like a a tryout, as they say.
A
There was
vetting process.
yeah, there was like hundreds of students that applied for it, but there was only a couple of us that got selected.
Yeah. So Ish, you were talking about how when you went to France, how the dean believed in you. You're talking a little bit about the convention there. Can you expand a little bit more on your trip to France and kind of everything that happened?
Yeah, so I obviously got this opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to go overseas to a city called Nice in France to run, to essentially attend the accelerator. So there's students from all over the world that attended this accelerator.
Yeah.
And they brought their companies. At that time, though, I was I kept myself busy. That's the other thing. Most of my peers, they were just doing school, and because I was like, a 2-tier athlete playing basketball and football,
Yeah.
I was already kind of used to doing multiple things at once.
Yeah.
So while I was going through school, obviously I had multiple jobs getting up until the point, just kind of side hustle, I worked at Apple, I worked at Best Buy, I worked at all these other places, and you kind of learn and build some of those life skills there.
Yeah.
But I was also working at this consulting firm at the time, and learned a lot from the guys there, and mad respect for that whole team there that kind of took me in. I was like 19 years old at that time, and I was still going to school, so I was kind of doing co-op.
Okay.
And then I had this idea after that business ended up doing really well. I had this idea called Hanger Closets, and it was like this digital virtual closet that, if you went from here to Toronto and you were about to catch a Raptors game and you didn't have a jersey on you, right? Why buy their jersey when you can rent it from a friend, right? Not saying I'm throwing ideas out, but it's pretty nice because you can rent a jersey for what, maybe $10 for 2 hours. You got a jersey, you got a spot, and we tested it out actually. We tested out with some Oilers games.
Nice.
So I had a couple of used jerseys. I had a group of people that had jerseys that were ready. I had a group of people that wanted jerseys. And when the games would come, we would feature the jerseys, and it would sell like hotcakes.
Nice.
Okay. Wow.
And it was pretty crazy. So I took this idea, and I presented it in front of the dean of the business school, and in front of the folks that were taking us to this trip, and then they accepted it, and then we went to France.
Nice.
Okay, wow.
So then I basically showed up there with the other students, and France was awesome. It was warm. I wish I could live out there. It was so nice, so beautiful, man. It was beautiful. It was another experience. Over here, you get the winter, man.
Yeah.
It's too cold.
Wait, they don't have winter in France. Huh?
I think they might. I'm not 100% sure.
They do, but it's not
way
like you don't get
milder.
like snow. Like, I mean, if you're in southern France, is what I'm talking about, right? If you're like, because you're closer to the equator,
Oh, okay.
you're in Nice. You're not in Paris. Paris, yes, it'll get cold, but you're in the southern side of France, right? Where like you're around the Mediterranean. You're by Monaco, right? You're by these like hot spots where even in the winter it doesn't get
like this.
winterized.
Like Canada.
Yeah.
God, crazy.
But I ended up getting there, and then that's where the hustle kind of began, and so sort of I worked on. So a colleague of mine who went to school with me, him and I were on the same team.
Yeah.
And there was 3 or 4 of us on the team. So I had a developer, I had a designer, and then we had this guy who had a finance background. Everybody was from like a different city around the world. Somebody was from Denmark. One guy was from London. We were from Canada. So it was, and this other guy was from Singapore.
Oh, nice.
So it was good. It was a good mix of students.
Yeah.
So it was a 3-week accelerator program. Essentially, the first 2 weeks was us building the concept. We tested it out even in France. We went to some of the top high-end fashion design stores and tested out the model, and it worked really well there too. People were really vibing with it.
Yeah.
And then biggest thing was, last week was the week of getting investment.
Oh,
So
nice.
we had to work out to raise money and get pitched to our investors and actually build this business and make it come to life, essentially.
Nice.
So it was a good experience. Like towards the end of it, really, that's where another obstacle came.
Oh, wow.
Right. That's where like I feel like it's just been like this, and then it kind of hit an apex. Like That's where like things were. That one moment changed my life. That trip changed my life.
Whoa. I'm about to dive into some untold stories right now, so they're feeling like
story time.
Story time. So, what was this experience that really, changed? I'm assuming that, I don't know for sure, but I'm assuming that it was probably either a traumatic experience, something that stood out to you, because usually traumatic experiences are the ones that really shift your whole kind of mindset.
Yeah.
And what people don't really realize is that, like, once you go through a traumatic experience, you are not the same. Like, you
Never.
cannot be the same. Like,
No way.
you're not the same person. Going through my injury, it, like, as much as I came back, it shifted how I think, the whole thing, So, what happened in France that really shifted your perspective and your mindset?
Yeah. So, I mean, essentially, the last week we were celebrating France's national holiday.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was a terrorist attack.
Wow.
And I happened to be right on ground zero when it took place. So, me and some of the other friends on my team were on ground zero. And there was a truck that came, and it was plowing through people, and I just in a couple of milliseconds I was able to jump out of the way, and some people just weren't fortunate enough, and again, God, it's God's will, but it was tough. I ended up losing a really close friend of mine in that process too. And out of respect, I won't mention names or anything, but it was a tough experience, and visually seeing like people, seeing bodies, seeing just a situation. The scenario was it was way beyond life, and to know that, I had a 99% chance of not being here talking to you, both of you on this podcast. And that 1% chance that I guess God took at me to prove something in this life is why I'm here. So that was it was a life-altering experience, and at the moment, right after that experience, there were lots of questions. What happened? We spent 4 or 5 days there in France.
Oh wow!
Just to kind of like take in what actually happened.
Yeah.
Because it was just so crazy. It's like a roller coaster ride.
Sorry, once again, I don't mind interrupting, but how did it kind of unfold? Like, were you just there and it just kind of happened out of the blue, kind of suddenly? Or?
Yeah. So we had a hostel where we were staying.
Yeah.
And then my group of guys, so it was essentially like my team. Right?
Yeah.
So I was the CEO of the company, and a couple of the guys wanted to go out, and I don't drink.
Yeah.
So I was like, yo, let's hit up a shisha bar or something. Right?
Yeah.
I'll go do shisha, but I won't drink alcohol.
Fair.
And we're like, okay, so we had sushi, and then we walked down to what's called the promenade, Ayyye, and it's like the seaside.
Yeah.
And we were down on the beach chilling, like, right. And some of the guys were drinking beer and stuff, right? Just having a good time.
Yeah.
As we came up, that's where it started going down. That's where there was a guy behind us who ended up going from like the normal lane to the sidewalk lane, and then he was coming with a big truck, and the truck had explosives in it too.
Oh.
So like, you realize, you look at this thing coming at me, and I'm like, what's this thing doing?
Yeah.
And you just kind of wonder in that moment, you're just like, hey, maybe this guy's just making a mistake, right? It's got to be a mistake.
Yeah.
And you only have like 1 or 2 milliseconds to actually think, because like by the time it hit 3 milliseconds, he was right in front of us.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how it went down. I mean, the night was, like, other than that, the experience was amazing, right? Like the time in Nice and the program that we were in, everything was awesome.
Sure.
But it was just that one moment that really kind of changed the trip.
And one thing that you just kind of said that really stood out to me is that you said it was just a couple milliseconds, and in those couple of milliseconds, you have to make a huge decision. You said earlier in the interview that life is full of choices, right? And one little choice can make, what if you were 2 millimeters off to the right, or you know what I mean? Just that one little choice of, being there or moving over to the side, change a whole different scenario, And so what did you, I know that must have been like a really, really hard experience for you. So kind of, how did you kind of overcome that? Because that's something that you're definitely not going to be the same from.
Yeah. Well, there's two aspects, right?
Okay.
There's a mental aspect and then there's a physical aspect.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like mentally, you're telling yourself, "Hey, this happened, but I'm gonna try to move on. I moved on in the past. I can move on now."
Yeah.
But physically, even though, sorry guys, physically, even though you might not have been struck by it, I saw what people shouldn't see, right?
True.
I was conscious throughout the whole process, right? So I had to pick people up on my back, like bring people up onto the promenade. I basically went into like superhuman mode,
Yeah.
trying to save as many people as I could before firefighters came in. So taking that in, it's more of like that. It's like the mental side of it was okay, and I thought I was okay.
Yeah.
And sure enough, you know, when I came back, I was okay. Actually, for the first couple of weeks, I got psychologists working with me as well.
Yeah.
The school recommended a psychologist that I work with, and I was working with one, and that was fine. But you know, it wasn't things weren't the same. And I only realized that a couple of years afterwards that she like that really changed me even from a mental aspect. Yeah.
See, that's something that I also noticed. That's kind of stands out to me because that's something I also noticed with my injury, is that even when I tried to explain it to people, like after that injury, even though like I came back and I felt like I was normal, like mentally I like something like was different. Like I wasn't. It was hard for me to do certain things. Like certain things that I would normally do before, I had like a little bit of a challenge. Like I kind of either doubted myself, or I was a little bit more like, you know, scared, or I had anxiety after that situation just because of what happened. And even when I try to explain it to people, they're like, oh, you know, you should be able to do this. And they're like, why aren't you like this anymore? Like, what happened to you? You used to be able to do this all the time. And I'm like, yo, I don't want to do that anymore. I just, you know, don't feel like that anymore. And it's just like a really big shift. But what I've also learned is that I think when you go through an experience like that, even though everything takes time, right? Everything takes time. The healing takes time. Everything takes time. But the growth, I think, is almost inevitable.
Yeah.
It, like, you know, once you kind of survive that experience, I think growth it might take some time.
Sure.
But I think it's inevitable. I think you grow from there, and I've definitely seen growth from you since that time. You know. So, what would you say maybe is like one of the lessons that you probably learned from that? Like, how did it change maybe in a positive way, or like what did you kind of learn from that experience? Was there anything that you learned about yourself that you didn't realize, you know, actually being in an experience like that you didn't really realize about yourself prior, and when it happened you're like, oh, I didn't realize that about myself?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing too, like going through, and I mean, we didn't talk about girls throughout high school because that was a distraction, right? High school, junior high, right? University, that's a distraction.
100%.
But I remember I met my wife now, Summer. I met her my brother's wedding.
Oh wow.
Okay.
I met her at my brother's wedding, and I was in March when I met her, and I went through Nice in the summer.
Oh.
So we were just kind of seeing each other at that time. And I think that moment was like, shoot, put life into perspective, right? Like, stop going around chasing all these women, right? You know you can get yours, but you know that's what I told myself, right?
Yeah.
And took some personal reflection. I was like, who's gonna be there when the lights are off? Who's gonna be there when, you know, you aren't your best self?
Yeah.
Right. And you know, she was there during that time where I was vulnerable, sure, but I also knew that because she had seen that instance, that she would be able to understand.
Yeah.
Right. Like if I decided to wait, a couple years later and met some other girl, as much as I tried to even explain to her what happened to me, she wouldn't get it.
True.
She just wouldn't get it.
True.
Because she hasn't lived through it. I remember when I was coming back after the firefighters had taken bodies and everything, put them into body bags. And I remember zipping up body bags. And these are things that you shouldn't be seeing.
Yeah, it's just stuff you see in movies.
Right? Yeah,
but
you
actually
see in movies.
but
Right? Like,
experience
you have to
in real life.
decide on someone's life, or
Damn.
some
That's crazy.
some set of individuals' lives. Like there's a guy who we met, and he basically had his like skull cracked open, and I saw that, right? And so for you to see that is very, very vivid.
It
right?
is.
It's
Yeah.
very vivid. And so then when we came back, anyways, she calls me. Her mom called me, and they live in London.
Yeah.
So they called me. So they were close by, right?
Yeah.
London's like maybe like 2-3 hour flight away
Yeah.
from Nice, and they're like, "Hey, are you okay?" and stuff, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm like, yeah, I just survived, right? Because like media was going off, social
Yeah.
media, the news was
Yeah.
going off. I was
I
getting
remember.
people from CBC, CTV, a whole bunch of people reaching out to me and being like, "Hey, are you okay? Are you affiliated here? We want to try to get you in an interview." I had over 150 requests
Damn.
from
Whoa.
people all across Canada
Holy.
wanting to know what happened
And, yeah.
in this situation.
Wow.
So
Wow.
and really, you know, I didn't want to make anything public, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
at that time,
100%.
especially at that time, it was very, very, very crucial.
Yeah.
Out of respect for the family, for the institution, out of respect for everybody,
Yeah.
to just kind of keep things quiet. So meeting her really kind of put things into perspective, because I was just like, okay, this is it, right? And I don't want to focus on anything else. I have one life. It's short, only maybe 80 years, maybe. If I get lucky, maybe more than that, but I don't know, right? That's all I have, right? And you know, if I have somebody that's been through a situation with me that's so crazy, she'll understand. When
Yeah.
things go rough, she'll understand, and she
Yeah.
has, right? And we've been together for 5 years now, moving on to 6
God.
years, and
Hey.
she's understood, right? So it's that's probably the biggest thing that happened, was that life got put into perspective. I started caring a lot more about people around me. I started saying I love you more than I would have
Yeah.
ever said it before.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As a guy, you just
Yeah.
kind of, you know, it's like you got to be
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
You can't cry.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
say I love you
True,
to
true,
you know,
true.
your
Yeah.
family, your siblings. It's all
Oh.
BS, right? Like
Yeah.
tell the person next to you that you love them.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, you never know, right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very, very important to me. That's really
Yes.
important. No.
Yeah.
And
That's very huge. Yeah.
you know, so taking that and reflecting on it was huge, because obviously from that experience I had PTSD.
Mhm.
So I was diagnosed when I came back, and I didn't know what PTSD was. I didn't even know what mental health was. I used to actually laugh at the concept of mental health
Yeah.
until it actually hit me, and it hit me pretty hard.
That shit is real.
It is real.
That shit
Yeah,
is
and
real,
you're
bro.
right, Aquille. You're right.
That shit
Like
is
it,
real.
you know, you went through that experience, but others around you think that they might have gotten through that experience, but they
No.
don't know.
They don't
No.
understand. They
There's
don't
people that
understand.
went with me on that trip,
Yeah.
of course, but they weren't on ground zero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they didn't see what I saw.
So yeah.
Some
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah.
There's some people that did, but some people that didn't.
Yeah.
And it was so tough for me to come back, and because like I felt like nobody wanted to listen to my side of the story, or even if they did, it was
Yeah.
more so like, hey, are you okay? Or hey, that's pretty tragic,
Yeah.
right? Or
Mm.
and then it just put a bad thing in my stomach, right?
Wow.
So but then that, I mean, I guess that still fueled me, and I didn't say no. I mean, I came back, continued to work on Hangar, build out a team. We were at about 6 or 7 people, growing the company here, and then then we kind of company kind of collapsed, and then I started working on another venture.
Okay.
Started up worked for a moving company in Calgary called
Okay.
Rent for Move. I was working for them for a couple of years, and as a co-founder. No, I worked with them for like, I think, 1 year. And then I worked at another startup. So I had all these experiences.
Yeah.
I think I was at like my 5th or 6th company
Wow.
before I started, you know, Student Seat and now ReadyCar, kind
Wow.
of growing and making an impact. But the biggest reason why when I came back and I met one of the professors when I was in France, and his name's Ken. He's out of the Center of Entrepreneurship at Berkeley. He gave me a hug on the peer side, and he said, Ishmael, like this very moment should give you an even bigger reason to make an impact in your life, right?
Reason.
And that's what I tried doing. That's what I'm trying to do still. Right, is make that impact come to life. Right?
Nice.
And that's sort of the drive that kind of
Pushes
after that moment really kind of
Pushed you.
fueled me and pushed me.
So transitioning, perfectly into the next kind of thing is that you said you use that experience to kind of push you into trying to make an impact, right? And so you've now started your company's ReadyCar, right, which you're trying to make an impact. Can you tell us more about kind of why you started it, what it's all about, and kind of really dive into the impact that you want to make with ReadyCar?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I started it back in 2017.
Okay.
And really back then it was just like a moving and delivery company.
Okay.
Nothing crazy. And it was just me and my truck
Okay.
doing delivery jobs, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, trying to get work wherever I could. But the biggest reason I guess that I started was because we noticed that in the moving space with other company that I was working with, it was really messy, right? Like even right now, if you ever want to move from your home to another place, you might have to rent a U-Haul truck, right?
Yeah.
But what if you don't have the time or the resources, or you just straight up don't, it's an inconvenience, right? Like what are you going to do? You might look at somebody on Facebook, you might find somebody there, but that person, can you trust them, right?
Yeah.
Right? Can you trust them with your valuables, right?
Yeah.
All this stuff,
100%.
right? So we noticed like a space in the market that we could kind of come into. So we started off in the moving side of things. We did several moves, and then after about 250, 300 moves, we're like, hey, we're going to start focusing in on deliveries, right? So we're like, okay, how do we... So then I actually, because of the trip to France, I had made really good connections in Berkeley with professors there, and I got invited to go back to Berkeley. So the same dean that said, hey, Ishmael, you should go to Nice, he actually helped fund my trip to Berkeley. So I drafted up a proposal. It's like 20-page proposal.
Wow.
This is back in 2017. And I was just like, hey, you gotta send me here. I'm gonna come back with a lot of knowledge. So I went there and spent a month there and was working on ReadyCar there. That's where the idea kind of really came into life.
Yeah.
And then I met an investor there who is a part of who's advising us. His name is Shomit. He runs a VC firm in California, in Palo Alto. And he was like, hey, Ishmael, why don't you take this moving concept and try to go into different verticals? Like, why don't you deliver for local businesses? There might be more of an impact there. Yeah. Particularly on small business.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, let's try it out. So we went hard with it, 2019. And then life hit me again. My brother, my older brother's daughter passed away. My niece passed away after I came back from my wedding. Wow. And niece and niece, two words that are the same.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
It pushed me back into niece.
Yeah.
So I didn't have any panic attacks or anything before that. But when she passed away, literally 2 months later, I started getting panic attacks. Wow. And I was like, why is this happening? Yeah. And I went to psychologist after psychologist, and then I went and finally found a psychiatrist amazing guy who's also a part of our advisory team at ReadyCar, kind of like a health coach. He really changed things around for me. I think it's important to find the right psychologist, right? There's one thing to look for help, but it's another thing to look for the right help. Yeah. Right? You gotta try to match yourself up with the right person.
Like I always would tell them, one thing I realized is how do I put this? It's okay to seek help, and it's also okay not to feel okay, but it's not okay to stay there. In the sense of unfortunately, what happened. Yeah. But sometimes people tend to just keep themselves in that exact position. Yeah. It's not easy. Don't get me wrong, but it's okay not to feel okay, but it's not okay to stay. Like you said, from what I've noticed, you seek help, psychiatrist, therapy. You were actually looking for help. People never get to that stage. They just be like, okay, I'm just gonna keep myself in my room and just stay there. But like you said, when you started seeing that psychiatrist, he helped you and the team itself, correct? To be a business. So that's pretty good. Yeah. It's good to seek help.
Bro, I was sitting under a rock for 8 months. So the business that we had done so well with for a year, I I couldn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So the team, everything, like there's nothing left, and it was just me at rock bottom again.
Wow.
And I was hiding under a rock, and geez, really just this last year, after COVID, and then by the way, these panic attacks were happening while COVID came on. So COVID was like another added layer.
Yeah.
Right? I know people went through a lot when COVID happened, and it was a big mental step for a lot of people.
Yeah.
People made strides, but COVID was like another
Extra.
layer.
Yeah.
It was just like, oh shit, like, there's this thing happening where there's another thing that's happening now in the world where you could possibly die. Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, how do you
Push that.
how do you go through that?
Yeah.
And so it's just another challenge. So I had panic attacks, and it was just really tough, and I struggled. And I was right about the prediction with my wife, right? It was like, she saw me go through these panic attacks, and there wasn't like, it was tough, don't get me wrong, but there wasn't a moment where I felt like she was gonna give up.
Yeah, fair.
Right? And I know no other woman on this planet would be able to go through that because she went through it with me, right?
Yeah.
So that's a big reason why I decided to have. She decided to have me in part of her life, obviously, but I was just like, this is it. So it's that kind of came around full circle. So, kind of going back to it, I think you just find a way. And so with ReadyCar, like now we're at over 350 drivers operating in all of Western Canada now.
That's big.
That's dope.
That's big.
12 person team. Our executive team is built out, and we're a seed stage company, so we're generating revenue. Hopefully we're going to be raising money in the next. Our plan is to kind of get something in the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay.
Go through like a Series A round, so like quite a big round of funding. So we're talking to investors and things of that nature. We're building out like a local Amazon. It's really cool because like the businesses that we impact now, you can actually see it because of COVID. A lot of these small business owners, they're brick and mortar stores. So like dry cleaning stores, small pharmacies. These are type of customers that we have. Farmers market merchants. A lot of them are like struggling because they're not able to get their products to their customers, or they weren't during COVID.
Yeah.
And now they see it as a need.
Yeah.
Right. Like Skip the Dishes, Uber Eats, these guys came and changed the game, but it's like there's room for this goods and services space that we're tackling, and it's a massive market. So
I love that. I love that.
It's all about giving back. Like I think that's what it kind of comes back to is giving back, right? Like, and again, mom anecdotes, but she always taught me to keep my hand like this, never like this. Never ask. Always give,
right?
Yeah. Oh, I like that.
It's just, it kind of comes back.
You finished the gems.
All my gems got dropped,
It kind of comes back, right? It kind of comes back to that original, like my parents' struggle and kind of reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay, that's really, really big, man. That's really, really big. There's so much more of an impact there, and even just like how you said, one thing that you said that also in our last interview that was mentioned was just the importance of finding a proper partner.
Yes, sir.
You know, not just rushing into it as well. You know, like especially in the world that we live in right now, I feel like it's probably not that easy to find a partner that really understands you, that really gets you, that can really make it work. Right? Because a partnership, like I don't know for myself personally, but just from what I'm observing, right? You need a good partner to really help you to grow together and to really benefit you. Because if you don't, like, if you have someone that's not helping you really, you're not going to really excel. It's probably going to make your situation worse.
100%.
It'll be more stressful, right?
100%.
So I think...
like the same wavelength.
Same wavelength.
You got to be on the same wavelength. And it's okay if it takes the time, right? It's okay if it takes time. But I think it's like you got to be on that same wavelength. And I think the reason why it's so hard nowadays is just because of, like, this... right?
Yep.
And like
Social
society
media.
And like all the other pressures and stuff.
So
right?
much.
But when you go through an experience like that, or if you find somebody that's gone through something similar like that, then you can kind of resonate with them.
Yeah. Reality check.
Yeah. Then you can kind of resonate with them. And like, you know, for me, like growing up, again, it was like girls and stuff, right? Just messing around.
Yeah.
But but you know, at some point, because of what happened with France and stuff, I was just like, yo, like this is like
change that
you
perspective.
you got to change up your perspective because you
Yeah.
don't know
If it's gonna
what,
be,
what,
yeah,
what
where it's
what's
gonna.
next.
Sure.
That's fair. So okay, kind of coming towards the end. So now kind of just bringing everything into summarization from everything that you have experienced. Like as you've been talking, you have gone through like not just like you've gone through numerous obstacles in your life, numerous struggles from losing loved ones, from being in a situation, a very traumatic experience that like I don't think a lot of people could go through and even come out, and just to see that you came out and you still pursued your dream, right, regardless of the circumstance that you faced, and you still improved yourself more than 1% better. You've been improving yourself constantly right now, and you're doing a business that's really having an impact not only on businesses but on people too, because people make up businesses, right?
Yeah.
So you're having an impact on people, right?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to commend you first and foremost just for what you've done in coming through that experience, because I know a lot of people go through things and they don't come out like that, man.
No.
Like I can tell you they don't come out like that. So just even from my own experience, from what I went through, like it's very difficult, but the fact that you came through and you're still making a big impact is really big, because not only are you making an impact in people, but also you're motivating other people. When I see you, I'm inspired by you, so that's something big.
Respect, man. That means a lot.
So in summary right now, I wanted to come and ask our question that we always ask, is
Dum dum dum. That was a good question. It's a
What?
good question.
is your theory of the grind?
That's a deep question, you guys.
Deep.
That is a deep
I
question.
should have prepared for this question. I think it's a struggle. It's the grind is a struggle. If you're willing to invest in the grind and in the struggle, then you'll come out of the other side, right? If you see the grind and you run away from it, you're not going anywhere, right? So, and it's a way of life. The grind is a way of life. Like, you gotta grind to get somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
It's not just like a one day thing that you can just do once in a while. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I mean, we talk like in the podcast that I started, the startup podcast, which I think you'll probably drop a link in the bio.
100%.
Hell yes.
Our first episode just launched today. So
Yep.
it's called The Drive.
The
and
Drive.
we literally talk about this. We talk about, hey, what's driving you as an entrepreneur? Why are you making certain decisions the way that you are?
Yeah.
You're very different if you're an entrepreneur than most people, because you're not going down that traditional path
Yeah.
that's traveled by most, right?
Yeah.
You're going through a path that there's a lot of uncertainty, frankly.
100%.
Right? And risk, and you gotta be willing to put in the grind. You gotta be willing to put in the hours. Like, I working full time, but then you're working like 6 to 11 or 1 o'clock sometimes at night, working on the business, right? Working into the weekend. You don't have time sometimes for friends and family the way that you'd want to, right? And you gotta be true to it, right? And like I noticed you too now, right? Like with what you guys are doing with this podcast, like I noticed Aquille used to be down to go play ball every weekend, but it's like, hey, this podcast means something to him, means something to you guys. So it's like, hey, now man, I'm busy, I'm doing this, and that's very, very important. If you're trying to get somewhere, you have to be willing to
make a little bit of sacrifice.
Sacrifice, right? And get somewhere, right? And start off with a couple of views, and I noticed you guys' videos. You guys have like over 2K views.
We're coming.
Appreciate all the people.
It's getting up there.
Yeah,
right?
that's really big, man.
God keeps getting there, but it's you start somewhere, and I think that's the biggest thing too. Whether you're starting a business, you're starting your career.
Yeah.
I know we were talking about this earlier too when we were on the couch there.
Yeah.
Like, if you have an idea and you're working on something, think about it in the big perspective, but then kind of reverse engineer that back to the start, right? And know that there's gonna be a grind, but reverse engineer that in your mind, build that in your mindset, and then start, right? That's a big thing.
So what you just mentioned just like rang a bell in my head. So I've told him a lot. I don't know if you know them. I'm a big fan of those guys, the roommates. I don't know if you've heard of them before. I usually tell him a lot. So when I was going through my own struggle, like I stumbled across them. I was just deep into them. So gave a couple books to recommend and started reading them. I know the one I read was, I don't know if you heard of it before, The Way of the Superior Man. I recommend it a lot because like it literally just breaks it down for like what it means to be a man. Still, you can take that book and construct it to what it means to you and the value you take from it. But you give an example in the sense of like a lot of people, when they're trying to figure out what they want to do in life, they're looking at right now. But it was like, look at yourself 50, 60 years old. Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
How much do you want to be making at that age? What kind of family do you want? What kind of wife do you want? What kind of job do you want? How do you want your kids to be? Like, what are your core values? What impact do you want to make? And then once you know that, you take it back to a young age and be like, what steps do I need to make in order to get that? So as soon as you said that, like it rang a bell. Like, so, bruh,
No, that's
you gotta reverse engineer. Like it's you gotta think about it from a big perspective. So like I think when Nice happened, I was like, shoot. I was like, yo, like I went from like being an 21, 22-year-old kid sort of mindset to maybe like a 32, 33-year-old adult mindset. So it's the same age, but I just thought about things very differently than my friends. Like I came back, friends would be at parties or whatever. You could just see how much mature I was in comparison to my friends.
That's different,
and that was a wake-up call, right? And I think, like, you're totally it, bro. Like, you got to look at it from a perspective of, like, looking at your life. And that's exactly how I think about it. Sometimes I get ragged on it by a lot, and it's just like, hey, Ismail, you're taking yourself too seriously. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. You expect a lot out of yourself. You get a lot of that, but honestly, man, like, you're in that position because you want to be there.
100%.
Right? More than anybody else.
100%.
Right? And people that are telling that to you, they don't want to do that themselves.
100%.
They don't want to think about that because it's honestly scary.
It is.
It is very scary.
You know, we're talking like you said, we're talking about like it is scary.
It's
like
scary.
To make that jump,
a lot of people say this. I want to be rich. I want to be making money. Literally, this day and age, there's information out there. You can go on Google right now. How can I be rich?
Yeah.
You see bunch of different articles, but the work
is. Whew. Yeah. That's why he said his theory of the grind is the struggle, because the grind is the struggle. It's not like you only see the end result of a lot of people that are successful, but you don't see like Elon Musk and Bill Gates and those guys are building there like 16, 17, 18-hour days working on Microsoft in their garage and all this stuff in their garage, no money for 5 years.
There's constant pictures of Jeff Bezos in his small desk. I think it was 19 working on it. I remember I saw a post, I think it was from Kevin Otto. I can't remember. Kevin Otto, Elon Musk. I think you sent it to me where he was like, he kept in like daily numbers of work, and then when people see the result, they're like, oh, luck.
Yeah.
But like it takes a lot of work to be successful. A lot.
Yeah. Reason why most companies fail though is because people just give up.
True.
The reason why 99% of companies fail is because people just give up. Right? And to me, I look at that 99%, and I'm like, there's a 99% chance that I won't be here, but there's a 1% chance that I'm gonna be here. So for everybody that tells me that I have a 99% chance of my business not working or failing, I still have that 1% chance of a business doing well, and I'm gonna bet on that.
100%,
right?
So about that 1% better every day.
About that 1%.
Let's go.
About that 1%. Right?
I love that, man. I love that.
I
love that. I love that. Oh man, I love that.
For real, cause like no, it's not easy. It's not easy.
It's a lot of work.
It is not.
And it's a lot of uncertainty too.
And like you said too, also in the sense of like, because they give up. Like, there's a difference between knowing when to be like, okay, no, this is not working.
Yeah.
And there's a difference when you say, like, you know what? I'm just going to keep pushing.
Yeah.
Same, it falls back to the Atomic Habit in the sense of, like...
Atomic Habits, that's a really good book.
Very good book.
James Clear. I was following that guy before he even came out with Atomic Habits.
Yeah.
He had, like, a email campaign that I signed up for back in, like, I think 2015 or something. And then he created this book.
That book
is very.
That book is amazing.
You gotta change your system, you know.
Should be I think he gave two key examples that I really liked. The one was the London Olympic, like the biking, whatever,
team,
and I think the second was the Lakers one, because like when he gave in the sense that the Lakers where they had the a good squad and everything, but they were not winning championship. And the coach was like, you know what? I'm gonna break it down. Like I can't remember exactly how he kept it, but the key that I'm trying to say is like was taking like one step.
One little improvement.
Even if you don't see like the result there and there,
It's building.
it's building. Like I think it was actually today. My girl, she was going through my phone, so she's looking at because I take pictures when I go to the gym. So every time I take pictures. I never went through it, but she was looking at it. She was like, every time I look at it, I'm seeing the difference.
Yeah.
You don't see like this.
Yeah.
It takes time. Like actually takes time. Same with money. You're not gonna be making like $1 million just like this. The days they're gonna be going, like you're gonna be broke. You're gonna be like, yo, what am I gonna do? But when you keep pushing, like you'll get there. Same emotional health. Like it's not easy. Just like going through the struggle mentally. Like you said, the niece. That's stuff you see in movies, and like when you see it, you're scared. So imagine seeing it in person.
Yeah.
That's different. But where are you right now? You're good. You're still doing good.
Very good.
So it just shows that when you go past that struggle, like there's good stuff over there.
Yeah. And you know what? I
100%.
think that for me, like I think Tom Brady says it. Like you really watch him, look up to him, but like you never settle.
Yeah.
And like I don't feel like I've accomplished shit.
Yeah.
I haven't accomplished
Same.
shit.
It's like this.
I haven't.
Same.
Right. And I'm gonna celebrate the small wins.
Yeah.
100%.
But
You
I'm
got- yeah.
still doing it.
Yeah.
I'm still
100%.
going through those battles, that grind, right? Every day. And
100%.
retrospectively, maybe 30, 40 years down the line, when I'm looking back at my life and I'm like, hey, this is something. You're hoping that you've accomplished certain things, but it's another thing though too. Interesting that you say that. Another thing too, I think that people get caught up with too is not being present in the moment, right? Like there's one thing to think about the big picture, but then if you're not in the present and you always think about the big picture, then you're not gonna go like you might miss a step in your you might miss a step in your
In your grind.
Yeah. You might only improve 0.2% versus 1%.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like how do you
Stay present and still.
how do you continue to grow? How do you do that? And I think that's what people forget too ultimately. And then they give up or they'll just stop
And stop putting in the work.
Yeah, they'll stop putting in
And
the
you
work.
always say it too. Consistency
is very, very key.
Oh yeah.
It's extremely key. Like the one thing that we're gonna wrap it up, but the one thing that I like with what If said was that reverse engineering it, right? Even like in basketball, you want to score 20 points in the game, right? 20 points, you might be like, oh man, 20 points is hard. But if we break it down, 20 points is only 5 points a quarter, bro. There's 12 minutes in a quarter, bro. That's only 2 layups and 1 free throw, or 1 3-pointer and a layup. You know what I mean? So when you reverse engineer it like that, and you see, like how, bro, in 12 minutes you don't think we can score 1 layup and you know what I mean?
That's funny. It's funny that you bring it up because when we were kids, when we were playing, like I think the most that I scored was 52 points. But I remember as I got into high school and got like depression and all this stuff, I started thinking about how many points I had to score in the game.
And it was
so
so
I'm like,
much harder.
I got to score 30 points. Like, shoot, like, oh, and I struggled.
Exactly.
Right. So then when you don't think about it, when you think about the big picture, you know what you want, but then when you don't think about it in the present time, and you're just focused on being present. That's when you're in a state of dominance. That's when whatever you're doing in your life, you're dominating. Right? You're dominating because you're not thinking too much about what can happen. You're only thinking about what you can control.
I love that.
Control what you can control.
Control what you can control.
Exactly.
Right? Leave everything else up to God above. Control what you can control.
No more. You finish the jam.
The chocolate drops
Mic
are
drop?
done.
Gee.
Yeah.
But man, that's I really like your concept of the theory of the grind. So now we're gonna move into this next little segment here before we end, and this segment is the Would You Rather segment. So we come up with a Would You Rather question. So today my Would You Rather question is I wanted to have 2, but I think I have 1 for right now. Is that would you rather be born without sight or without being able to use your legs?
Oh, jeez. That is tough. Jeez. I don't even know if I can answer that, bro.
Just hit him with a double cut.
You can't see. You don't know where you're going.
But do you need to see? But do you need to see to know where you're going? Woo.
Do you need to see to know?
We getting deep. We getting
right
deep.
Now, you should get that little cloud going in your head, right? You know, that little cloud.
The
And then
cloud.
you just being in a trance or something, right? Like, that's a tough question. I don't know, man. I think I don't know if I can answer that. I think probably vision sight, because like I still want to be able to walk.
Fair
enough.
But you want me to see where you're gonna walk.
Yeah, but like I know that like I this is might sound off, but this is more serious. I guess I've been kind of serious in this this session. I'm not as serious.
As we get through it.
But I actually have a cousin who's blind,
Okay.
and you know, I think that although he can't see, he has a lot of gifts and talents that don't show up, like to the normal person that might look at him and be like, oh, he's blind. Right?
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Like his senses are more activated.
Yeah.
So I would not want to not be able to walk, because that would be that'd be trouble.
Yeah, that would be
trouble.
That would. I think that
But
would
man,
be really rough.
that's such a tough question,
It's a
man.
tough
I'm like
one.
thinking about that again, man.
That's a tough one.
I don't even know what
I
I
don't
would.
even know what I'd say to that, man.
Because I want to be able to see, man.
Honestly, I'll probably go with legs. Like, lose my legs.
Legs?
But I want to be able to see.
I want to be able to see.
Yeah. Because, like, what's his name of this guy? Is it Stephen
Stephen
Hawking?
Hawking?
Exactly.
Yeah,
He can't walk.
Oh, yeah, that's
but,
At least you can see.
exactly. A vision
That's
is
true.
key. Because,
That's
like,
true, man.
without
Vision
being
is
able to see, like, bro, you can walk, you can.
Yeah.
But you don't have this. There's means. You
Hey,
can
actually, you know what? Let me take that back.
Yeah.
Take that back. You know what?
like it's
Let me
so
take
much.
that back.
You can get like there's no legs, but you can get artificial
Yeah,
legs.
You get artificial legs. Yo, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, bro.
I'm gonna make a quick trade.
Nah, you can't get no artificial legs in
Yeah,
here.
quickly swap that out.
Nah, yo, no artificial legs.
No, swap that out. Swap that out. I see that. I hear
Stumps
that.
only.
He's talking with some convictions. I'm all for it.
Because I'm for real.
No, that's
Because
true.
I don't think I might be wrong, but right now I don't think there's any actually way to actually fix blindness. I don't think so. No. So you see,
You get eye surgery or something. They take out your eye and give you a new one.
No. But they don't have like the veins. and
it's
stuff.
compared to like legs, like bro, the people that actually run, like running like 10. Is it 10
What's his name?
seconds?
Blake. I think it's Blake. I don't want to butcher it. I don't
There's
know.
like, I don't know. Maybe it's what does he do?
He runs. No, he
Okay,
runs.
no, okay, maybe
He runs
it's
in the
not him.
Olympics, and he's trying to run. He has prosthetics, but he's trying to run or compete normally against people who are running with both legs. But he's very fast.
Don't
I
worry,
can't remember your name, but
look it up. I like that though.
No, okay, fair. Well, man, it was a pleasure to have you,
It
my
was,
guy.
actually.
You
It
know what
was.
it is.
Listen, man.
It's always love, my brother. Man, over the years, like it's we're more than friends, you know. It's brother's family.
It's a
So,
family,
I'm really happy to have you on. Really happy that you shared your story, man. I know maybe not lots of people know that, and just for you to, I think just you sharing your story, you're an inspiration to other people. I know for myself, like I said, you're an inspiration to me, just because I know how difficult it is to go through an experience like that.
Yeah.
And it's not even, I haven't even gone through an experience as like years, right? And for you to still be pushing and to be doing what you're doing is really big, man. It's something that's very commendable, man. So we're gonna drop all the details for ReadyCar, the startup podcast, his Instagram, everything in the bio where you guys can reach him.
Yeah.
Make sure you guys go follow, tell
Yes,
somebody
sir.
about it, share. If you know somebody who's in who needs some deliveries done, hey, you know who to go to, you know?
Yes, sir.
You know who to go to, all right?
Yeah.
Support your local people, man.
Yes, sir. I'm trying to listen to like some business ideas.
Hey,
This
Yeah.
podcast.
Yeah,
you
no,
can
we're
see-
starting. Yeah, we're doing. I think coaching as well, startup coaching. So
Okay.
we'll be running that. So anybody like like yourself,
Yeah,
right? Like
100%.
you're one of maybe 50 people this year that have been like, Yo, Ishmael, I got this idea.
Yeah.
How do I go from 0 to
100%.
10x.
Yeah.
Right. So follow the Startup Podcast. We'll talk a little bit about that on there.
Like you
100%.
said, give
And
me
you
a,
see the wealth of knowledge that he has. You know, it's not like he's just speaking out of
Nah,
nowhere.
he knows his
He's
stuff.
been to multiple, you know, with the highest level people, right? So, hey, man,
Still climbing. Still
Hey,
got
still
a
climbing.
long way to go.
1% better every day, baby.
1%.
1% better every day. It's the Island Grind way.
yes, sir.
We
Thank you for
are
having me.
out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My
Pleasure.
guy.
Thanks, brother.
Always
Appreciate
love,
it,
my
man.
guy.
Hey,
Always
man.
love, man. Remember, guys, comment, like, subscribe,
Drop a follow.
drop a follow, share,
Your Instagram page. Drop a follow.
everything.
Hey, hey,
Drop a
hey.
follow.
Everything. Much love, y'all. Much love. Thank you for keep commenting. Yo, we love it.
Peace.
Be out.